into the light.
Pissing our pants yet?
Hey guys, Nick here, and today we will be getting into part 8 of What If the Governor Met Negan the Remake. Now, in the last episode, we covered the aftermath of Daryl leaving, Herschel, Tyrese dying, and Beth recovering. And Daryl leaving and all this happening, taking a heavy toll on Rick and everybody else, but still putting some of them around the same character development. And we finally get to where Daryl's been, getting kidnapped by little Timmy and his brigade and brought into the sanctuary, where he meets Negan. Negan introduces himself, and while he wanted to do this his original way, where he introduces himself, his rules at the sanctuary, and that he wants people to work for him. Which is kind of the same deal here, except he has something different in mind, with a special someone that Daryl knows, who he made a deal with him. And tells the Saviors to send him down to meet this very special someone. Daryl's just completely oblivious and confused at all this, but reluctantly has to comply with no other choice in the way he's feeling. He gets sent down to a big, huge basement in the sanctuary. And soon enough, Saviors escort him to a hall of torture chambers. And this completely shocks Daryl and even scares him, because this is just sick. These people have these torture chambers, and supposedly they have nothing to do with it. It's this someone that Daryl knows about. But he doesn't know. The Croat enters from one of the torture chambers, or exits, rather, and greets them, saying that him and his best friend have been expecting the likes of Daryl and 2 others for some time, and that his friend's going to be very happy to see him, and tells his friend from one of the torture chambers to come out and greet their new arrival. Soon enough, Daryl sees a shadow emerge from one of the torture chambers, and soon the shadow starts to gain focus, and an eerily, scary, and completely familiar voice he had not heard for a long time begins to make itself known. The governor emerges from one of the torture chambers, smiles, says hello to Daryl, and says it's been a long time. Daryl is completely and utterly mind-blown at the fact that the special someone, this was him? He's in charge of all this? He works with these people? He had been looking for him back at the prison, gave up on it, and thought he died after he killed all his people. But no, he survived and has been with this guy and all these people all this time? But then those thoughts slowly start to fade away, and Daryl goes into complete rage mode and runs straight towards the governor, not caring about what will happen, and goes to attack since he got his weapons taken from him, because obviously. But he gets stopped when a bear trap snaps right at his leg, ultimately injuring that leg. Whatever leg, it wouldn't matter. The governor smirks at this and says he should have expected this from the brother of Merle Dixon. And he says this to personally taunt Daryl. And then he also says that Daryl didn't really think that these torture chambers wouldn't come from traps from the outside, did he? And he is just taunting Daryl and having the time of his life right now. Because the governor would have been wanting to do this for a long, long time. Ever since Negan saved his life. And the governor presses a button on the wall from outside one of the doors to the torture chambers. Boop! A knife comes down from the ceiling of this big, huge hallway. And slam! It goes straight into Daryl's leg. Now, personally, whether it would be his opposite leg to when he got the bear trap on it, it wouldn't matter. You can't imagine how much pain both of Daryl's legs, or one of them, doesn't matter, would be going through right now. The governor then says that he's been wanting to do this to Daryl and two others he's been expecting for quite some time. Speaking of which, now that Daryl's here, that confirms it. Rick and Michonne are definitely alive. He's thinking this to himself, but soon enough he speaks out more directly to Daryl, pulls his gun out on him, and says that now that he knows Daryl's alive, this pretty much confirms that he's been right all along. Points his gun straight at Daryl's head after, Daryl just had a bear trap and a knife lodged into his legs, and asks where Rick and Michonne are. But Daryl doesn't answer. He just breaks down and starts to cry. Just being the silent Daryl we know him to be. But the crying throws the governor off, because the pain for Daryl Dixon shouldn't have been that bad, and even starts to taunt him more, saying that he didn't expect the brother of Merle Dixon, this guy who invaded his home, attacked and killed his people, and even did what he did to him, to cry? Are you serious? The pain couldn't have been that bad that it's hurt Daryl this much. And then goes on to say, very seriously, that Daryl can't imagine the pain that he went through after his home was taken from him, his eye, his people, everything. He was brought out away from everything after Rick, Daryl, Michonne pretty much destroyed everything that he had created. And it's lucky that Negan saved his life. Otherwise, he would have died. And Daryl can't possibly imagine what that feels like. Then pulls out his sword, which Daryl takes a notice in, because he begins to wonder and now know why the governor has the sword, because of Michonne. And Governor asks one more time where Rick and Michonne are, very seriously. But then Daryl stops his silence. He stops his crying and laughs. And this absolutely shocks the governor. First, he was angry. Then, he was in pain. Then he was crying. And now he's laughing. Is Daryl gone crazy? Has all this time in the wild and being out there drove him mad? And even questions this, beginning to get a little irritated. Daryl puts on his serious face then, saying that he can't believe it himself. That he is alive. And that he's been waiting all this time. He's been with these people just to get revenge? And just begins to taunt the governor himself that for someone who built so much, who did so much, he's childish. And says that if he's really looking for revenge, he's just got another thing coming. Because even if he wanted to tell him where Rick and Michonne are, even if he wanted to go back, he'll never tell the governor, and he never will go back. First of all, he will never tell anybody who killed his brother, who destroyed his life and did everything that he did to Glenn and Maggie and all them. Anything. Second of all, he wouldn't want to go back to Rick and Michonne anyway, because he's pretty much left himself deserted from all of them. He left of his own accord, because he killed an old man for someone he loved. And I know that kind of sounds weird the way I put it, but you gotta think of how it would be said in the moment. And the governor takes on a new aspect to this, because as mad as he should be at Daryl right now, Daryl's making sense, but not for what Daryl insulted him for. He means like the leaving thing. But then the governor just says, okay, and decides to make a deal with Daryl. If Daryl can go and bring Rick and Michonne here, he will not kill all three of them. In fact, he will give them a chance to surrender Because Negan's rule here, and the rule he had to live by besides the three of them, was to not kill anyone who didn't deserve it, and to not kill children. And the governor agrees to honor that rule and even talk it up with Negan if Daryl brings them here. Now, Daryl, he really just does not think that he should trust the governor in any way, shape, or form, especially after having a bear trap and a knife lodged into his legs, and the fact this guy's alive for revenge and killed his brother. But then again, he could have been killed right here and now. So reluctantly, very reluctantly, he has to comply. Grabs his crossbow, grabs his bike, has everything he needs, and leaves. Just as easy as that. And that's where we're leaving him for now, on his way back to Alexandria. Speaking of, we get to the quarry scene, and Season 6 timeline rallying up with Rick and them, with survivors. Reg is still alive because Pete never killed him. And Mika and Beth are still alive. Beth's still recovering slightly, and Mika's still being a character. And soon enough, we get the whole plan set in motion with the Horde in a much different way, and the wolves invading Alexandria. Will Daryl make it back just to see all this go down? How will the Horde be dealt with Daryl not at the wheel? Will Beth take up the place? Will Daryl actually listen to the governor? And do you think the governor's really telling the truth? Or do you think he plans to backstab Daryl, Rick, and Michonne and Negan? And that's where we're leaving things for the moment. Hope you guys liked this episode. Definitely a lot of suspense and build-up with Daryl, the governor, and the Croat especially. And considering the fact that I am honoring what the governor might have been able to do if he actually was serious at the prison about, taking the prison without firing a shot and everything, before Rick didn't want to do as he said. Kind of taking a page out of the canon storyline in a much different way. But I hope you guys enjoyed nonetheless. Like and subscribe, comment, and I'll see you guys next time.